want to talk about, dude, is Primobolan. So you have a lot more experience with Primo than I do, and that I think a lot of people do. It's not FDA approved here in the States. I think the Wikipedia page has it discontinued. Why is it discontinued? Because from what I can tell, it's such a fucking useful compound to be in people's TRT regimens.
Yeah, I like it. I think it's better than an aromatase inhibitor, and you get a little bit of anabolism as a result of that as well. I'm not entirely sure why it got discontinued in the United States. I'm not even sure it was ever FDA approved.
Right.
It's currently, I think it's only available in Turkey, and the price has gone up as of the last couple of years, partially probably due to my promotion of Primobolan. Because I'm in contact with several of the sources that sell from Turkey, right? They go to the pharmacies and they buy whatever Primobolan is left, and then they sell that worldwide. And they said in the last 2 years that the price has gone up significantly. And this is why internationally the Bayer Primobolan is just mad expensive. It's insane. So the benefit basically is that you get a testosterone without aromatization. I would say the only downside of Primobolan is that, one, it's expensive, and two, that it can cause hair loss. So if you can overlook the hair loss, then it's basically the perfect steroid to run alongside testosterone. And some guys say that Primobolan is too expensive, or they don't get so much out of it. Everybody responds differently. So I would say that Masteron is a good alternative to Primobolan. That's cheaper. Unfortunately, it's not available as a pharmaceutical, so you always have to go to an underground lab, and then you're kind of dependent on, your ability to source. And just have a high quality Masteron source. For TRT, I would say that for most guys, let's say you do TRT 200 milligrams a test, and you want 200 milligrams of a DHT derivative on top. That will be either Masteron or Primobolan. And then I would go with the one that's cheapest and easiest to source.
Right. Okay. My question about that is, like, if it's so effective at what it does, which it is, I've got some Bayer Primobolan from a source that we both know. And, I haven't started running it yet, but, I've guided some people to run it, and I've done a lot of the research about it. It's like, how is it not the case that it's available? It would be the greatest thing that clinics in the United States could prescribe it for these situations where people are either estradiol sensitive, they're just sensitive to high levels of estrogen, or, they've got a lack of conversion to DHT. It just seems so obvious that it should be available. And what do you think the bottleneck is there?
All good things are not available to general population.
Right. Yeah.
It's basically, I don't know. I mean, there's a lot of scientific evidence on human subjects on Primobolan, more in women so than in men, because it was studied as an anti-cancer, anti-breast cancer medication.
Right.
So I reviewed many studies, basically all the studies on Primobolan I went through. Some of those human subjects were from Germany. So some of those studies I had translated, right? I have a very elaborate deep dive on Primobolan on my YouTube channel. But why it's not available, I'm not sure. I mean, they removed oxandrolone, right? Oxandrine from the market.
I did not know that they did that. That's recently that they did that?
Yeah, that's last year or this year.
No shit, because my clinic still has
HCG, it. Yeah, HCG was labeled as a biological. All the peptides are almost unprescribable through compounding pharmacy. So it's just basically all the enhanced guys are getting the short stick. I don't know. The elections are coming up, so maybe they will all be reversed.
Maybe, because didn't you say it was Biden that basically catalyzed the inability to get HCG, or the change of it to being a biological?
Yeah, I believe that's all under the Biden administration.
Yeah.
So without going into political, I mean, Biden was the one who signed the Steroid Control Act. That was also when he was, I don't know, a rank lower. I'm not entirely sure, but if you go through. If you go through the Steroid Control Act, you see, Joseph Biden clearly labeled. So I think I'm happy that he stepped down, and now time will tell who gets into office and see if some things get pushed back. But usually with this kind of stuff, it doesn't really get rolled back. It only gets more restricted, and that means that you as an individual, especially if you live in the United States, either go with a very progressive TRT clinic, because they're still out there.
Yeah.
Or you take matters into your own hands, because, I mean, it doesn't, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if it's not available as a pharmaceutical.
Yeah.
Or through a clinical route, you can just take it by yourself. I mean, how many of the nootropics that we take are not available through the medical system?
Yeah.
You just acquire them on your own discretion, and you run them on your own discretion. You do your blood work, right? So it's basically the same as with everything. So it doesn't really matter to me that it's not easily accessible. And maybe that's better, because otherwise all these SARM goblins would hop on board and I'd rather have them run SARMs than drive the price of Primo up even more.
Yeah, totally. I when I was talking to Ryan Root, which, by the way, like, I didn't realize that you did a podcast with him. It just popped up on my feed recently. Like, the same theme, like UGL Kingpin. I was like, oh fuck, I didn't realize that. But he's been told me
rounds.
Yeah, he is making his rounds. Yeah. I didn't know that. So he told me that some of the pharmacies that his clinic works with say that they're going to have Primobolan in as a product. Like, did he tell you that? And how would that be possible in this case?
I'm not entirely sure. I believe that they're looking into Primobolan in the medical system as an aromatase inhibitor and as an anti-cancer medication. They're kind of diving into that again. Yeah. And I'm not entirely sure how that would work in the United States. I mean, I'm not, too well versed into the legal system regarding when it comes to medical applications of particular drugs. Yeah. And then again, how many of these compounding pharmacies are just glorified underground labs, right?
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Let's be honest, And I'm sure Ryan Root would do it all legit. I mean, he's been sentenced, so I don't think he would want to go back to jail and stuff.
Yeah.
Yeah, but maybe something that I didn't know. We didn't discuss that.
Yeah.
But yeah, if that's in the making, it wouldn't surprise me, because there's one recent biotransformation study on Primobolan where one of the metabolites was actually found to be a very potent aromatase inhibitor.
Yeah, right. I think I heard you talk about that somewhat recently. Yeah, I mean, I think it would save a lot of guys a lot of trouble, with AIs. They're just such tricky drugs to take, and you kind of sometimes don't know, or at least guys don't know, whether or not they should even dose them. I mean, some people don't have the traditional high estrogen symptoms like nipple sensitivity or otherwise, but they're having sexual issues, and you just overshoot. It's just very, very easy to overshoot it into the territory of continued sexual issues because the estrogen's too fucking low.
Let me interject there real quick. Maybe you've noticed this yourself. Do you notice more of the sexual issues with Arimidex over Aromasin? Or letrozole over Aromasin? Because you have reversely binding aromatase inhibitors and suicide inhibitors. And I feel that with Aromasin, since it kills off it renders the aromatase enzyme inactive, you always produce aromatase enzyme at a steady rate. So you're killing them off steadily. And so it seems that levels are a little bit more stable. Whereas with Arimidex, it goes in and out of the aromatase enzyme. Then sometimes you get this timing issue regarding your injections or the HCG. And then it still surges up and down. So you get this hormonal roller coaster. And then you also don't have good libido. So I usually switch guys from Arimidex to Aromasin, also because it's better for your lipids.
Right.
And then they notice that their libido kind of normalizes. Yeah. Have you noticed something similar?
I haven't, because I don't have enough experience suggesting Aromasin. I've got a couple guys that prefer it, so they just run what they run. But otherwise, for me, historically, Arimidex has been easier because of the short half-life, because you can modify your dose, your protocol relatively quickly. You can get data quicker, I feel like, with Arimidex. But I do understand that the differences in how they affect the aromatase enzyme and how that leads to ultimately both a slower drop in estradiol. That's what I found in myself personally. It wasn't as quick. It was just sort of a slow, more even keel thing. Yep. So it seemed like it disrupted the system a lot less than higher dose of Arimidex. But back to Primo, it's like, I think that the effects, the positive effects that people get both from Primo as well as like Proviron as an example, are both the aromatase inhibition, but also just that it's acting like DHT. What I've come to learn about myself is like, certainly the sexual benefits that I get from DHT derivatives are independent of whatever estrogen is doing. Mm-hmm. You know what I mean? Like, it's like estrogen could go lower. Okay. If I'm high dosing prop and estrogen's at like 50, but I've got enough of that DHT input, I still have all the sexual benefits. So, that's one of the things I think I really like about them over aromatase inhibitors,
Yeah.
because
No,
they're
I
offering
agree.
both of those things.
I agree, and I think libido is highly regulated by DHT. So, of
Yeah.
course, a lot of guys are afraid of DHT because it's been linked to hair loss and prostate cancer. Even though, as of more recent data is coming forward, that estrogen also plays a very contributing role in prostate cancer. So, and inflammation, right, and general lifestyle. So it's not like I've elevated DHT or I'm taking a DHT derivative that you get prostate cancer overnight. It's a little bit more complicated than that.
Definitely. Yeah.
But for sexual function and overall drive, and even for fat loss, like you experience yourself, I think DHT is wonderful. But testosterone converts into testosterone in the tissue. And then whatever you detect in serum, that's not always an accurate representation of what's going on in the tissue.
Yeah.
But whatever converts to testosterone that converts into testosterone, not as much of that interacts with the androgen receptor compared to a DHT derivative that you can inject because it goes systemic. Right? Testosterone converts into DHT and only acts locally within the cell, right? Where the 5-reductase enzymes facilitated the conversion. So I think Primo, Mastrone, and even Proviron are very, very beneficial. The downside of Proviron is that it crushes your SHBG.
Yep.
And then when SHBG is also in the single digits, notice that a lot of guys, they don't respond well to androgens anymore. Because the delivery of androgens isn't facilitated, because SHBG is basically a delivery mechanism.
Yeah, it is. Right. I found, I don't quite know where mine went, but my SHBG normally shits around 20. No matter what protocol, I'm able to fluctuate a couple of points, 5 to 10 points or something, but nothing significant. I found that I didn't run any labs on SHBG, but it must have been pretty low, that it didn't affect me negatively. However, I was only on Proviron for 30 days. And so, like, on the topic of hair loss, that's why I had to get off of it. Like, on TRT for years now, I've never really experienced, there have been a couple periods where I had some shedding and I was like, all right, let's see if this regulates, which it did. But on cream, so I was running a couple pumps of cream, few pumps of cream a day, kind of a high dose per milliliter cream, and Proviron 25 milligrams a day. And dude, I mean, I fucking nuked my hairline a bit. I'm trying to get it back. I'm doing some shit to get it back, and it's working. But yeah, I mean, it will nuke your shit, dude.
Yeah,
but it can.
It can, for sure. And I'm not sure if that's from the increased free testosterone or free DHT, because SHBG is so low that everything is free, basically.
Yeah.
Or the actual DHT-like signaling from the Proviron. I'm not entirely sure. It's probably that, because Proviron doesn't really shut you down. So you could even take Proviron as a quote-unquote not enhanced person that doesn't take exogenous testosterone, whether that's injectable cream or pellets or whatever, nasal sprays, right, in a testo. So you take HCG and then it just brings your SHBG levels down. And even those guys experience hair loss because free testosterone, free DHT, and the Proviron is so high,
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, I noticed that for fucking sure, which is making me a bit apprehensive to go. I mean, I've got Primobolan and Anathate, sitting there waiting for me, and I fucking really want to run it, but I just feel like I've got to give it a little time. In the meantime, I've been running a 1.5 millimeter dermaroller every third day or so, just on the areas where I'm seeing trouble. To the point of actually drawing blood, because that's really where you're going to get the most therapeutic effect, or the most effective response in stimulating the growth factors and triggering hair growth. And so far, it's like staving off additional problems, and I'm seeing my hair become thicker again, which has been very useful. But so I'm in the meantime, I'm kind of just apprehensive to jump on anything DHT related.
Are you doing any topical GHK copper with your derma rolling?
No, I did not know that that's a thing. So can you explain that?
Yeah. Okay. So you have palmitate GHK that permeates through the skin into the cells.
Okay. Yeah.
But it's not as good for collagen synthesis and hair growth as a GHK copper, but the molecule's bigger, so it doesn't really permeate. Okay. The problem with GHK copper is that even though it's very, very good for collagen synthesis and hair growth, it causes a little bit thickening of the skin, and it burns quite bad. But if so you would apply it topically here, and then you derma roll it in. Right? You create all these little micro abrasions, and this allows the GHK copper to go inside and then help with hair growth.
Right.
And you could do the same with minoxidil. You could do the same with ketoconazole. but it might be better to dermaroll for a while, do the GHK copper, and then later on you start your ketoconazole and topical dutasteride protocol,
right,
to kind of block the androgen receptors and prevent any 5-alpha reduction, and then continue with the hair growth.
Now, what is your take, therefore, like regarding that stuff on minoxidil specifically going systemic? Because the last thing that I think, from what I've seen in PFS consults, and certainly that I want to do and that people want to do, the last thing people want to do is go and fuck that whole system by inhibiting DHT systemically. To what degree? Because I haven't really studied minoxidil specifically. I know a lot about finasteride, dutasteride, and all of the rodent studies and all of the human studies. To what degree is minoxidil systemically inhibiting DHT?
I don't think minoxidil does, but ketoconazole does, because that inhibits several steps in the sex hormone cascade. So I made a video about this, about steroidogenesis inhibitors. It's the real reason why you feel like shitty on medications, basically.
Yeah.
You see that ketoconazole inhibits like 4 steps, and minoxidil inhibits 2 steps. Aromacin doesn't inhibit any steps, but arimidex inhibits the synthesis or the metabolism of cholesterol. This is one of the reasons why total cholesterol and LDL are so much higher.
Really? I did not know that.
Yeah,
interesting.
It's
wow.
27 cholesterol. I'm not even entirely sure what it's called, but it's one of the enzymes that metabolizes cholesterol. So you're basically preventing the breakdown of cholesterol into something else.
Interesting.
And that's why total cholesterol and LDL levels are generally higher. And aromacin doesn't do that. And of course, they inhibit the conversion of testosterone into estradiol, but that's what you're after. Many of these compounds inhibit other enzymes besides the ones that you're after. And then, so with minoxidil, if that goes systemic, you can have inflammation, autoimmune issues, and this inhibition of several steps of the sex hormone cascade. Now, that doesn't really matter if you take steroids. Right. If you're an HRT plus, you take your testosterone and your DHA and your pregnenolone, right? You got all of those bases covered. But if you take high dosages of minoxidil or ketoconazole without hormone replacement, this is where the post-finasteride syndrome issues get worse. So they take finasteride and ketoconazole, minoxidil all at the same time, like they want to get their hair growth right back, and then it goes systemic and their dick doesn't work.
Right. Yeah. I mean, that's the biggest thing. And I have guys with neurological issues that we've got to really approach from the GABA perspective and the dopamine perspective too, coming from finasteride. But you're right that, say someone was on androgens and had a pretty bulletproof protocol, but also knew how to adjust the protocol accordingly when they were inhibiting DHT to a degree, that'd be a lot better in regards to not getting PFS than what most guys go on PFS as, which are natties. They're natties. So they're not versed in any of this shit at all. They can't manipulate it. And so they get the broken dick syndrome and everything goes to shit. And then you got to play catch up. Yeah,
true. And in many cases, HCG will fix them, or you go with sublingual DHT powder, which you can source online. You take 5 milligrams.
We got to talk about sources there, because I did not. I remember you talking about that. I think maybe on the last podcast, me being on your podcast, but we've got to talk about that, because I would love to get my hands on that. And I think it would be useful for a couple people I've got in mind that would be useful.
Send you by email.
Yeah, definitely. And let me know. So Primo, one of the things that I recognized about Primo and just learned is that, Primobolan enanthate's a 10-day half-life. Is this along the lines of what you've seen?
Yeah, it kind of depends on which oil it's suspended in, because castor oil, or Primobolan, is produced in castor oil, and that might extend the half-life to 33 days or something like that.
33 days?
So that was determined on testosterone undecanoate, so that's libido.
Yep.
So testosterone undecanoate usually has a half-life in tea oil of 12 days, and then in castor oil, 33.9 days. Off the top of my head, might be a little bit off. But it's a huge difference. So Primobolan, if you get that in castor oil, then I think the half-life is way longer than 12 days or 10 days. Right. I made a video about esters, testosterone esters, and I went through all the scientific literature, and you see for all of the esters, they have ranges. Yeah. And for trenbolone acetate, the half-life is different than testosterone acetate, not because it metabolizes differently, but because the carrier oils of the products that they test is different.
Interesting. So if someone injected, I don't know, 100 milligrams a week of Bayer Primobolan in castor oil, Primobolan enanthate in castor oil, then that may be, it's like, how would that release over, let's call it a 30-day period, right? I mean, if you're injecting it into a muscle depot, because of this extension in the half-life, would you just get micro amounts released every day for
Micro
30
amounts?
days?
Yeah. There's a great study of Kalacharan. It's not exactly a study, but I think it was a thesis or something that he made for university. He's a Dutch guy.
Yeah.
He made it on the University of Utrecht or Amsterdam or something like that. It's a 130-page document about drug metabolism and drug release from injection depots.
Okay.
It's called
right.
Kalacharan. It's one of the best research papers that I read. He had his entire study and a lot of research in there. Yeah. So he did like MRIs on injection depots of nandrolone and you just see the entire injection depot. It's not a circle. It just spreads. Right. And then it metabolizes into little droplets. So you have like a huge chunk here and then a huge chunk there and small droplets in between. And then over time, you see that all shrink. And the funny thing is in the beginning, the injection depot, it doesn't have so much surface area because it's uniform. It's just one substance. But as it turns into little oil droplets, the surface area increases and metabolism goes faster because lipases and esterases, they work on the surface of the injection depot and break it down. So in the beginning, you might not get so much of a response. Right. And then later on, as it metabolizes it actually increases its absorption. So with MCT oil, for example, that's so viscous, or so thin, it disperses through the injection depot very fast. It breaks into oil droplets very fast, and then the testosterone propionate or whatever is inside absorbs in 24 hours. Yeah, for example. Yeah. And this is sometimes also where the post-injection pain comes from because it metabolizes so fast that the MCT goes away and then the propionate goes away, and then all you're left with is testosterone that doesn't go anywhere because there's no water. Testosterone is water soluble, but the oil is away. There's no fluids, and this is where the inflammation and the post-injection pain comes from, where the water rushes into the tissue for the testosterone to go away, and then you get post-injection pain.
It's funny that you mentioned this study, which I think I may have come across at some point, but I don't know that I spent a whole lot of time on it because what I've noticed in myself personally is that there will be, especially like large injections of a long ester. Like I just had to pin 200 milligrams of cypionate like a week and a half ago for a trip. It was just easy, and I didn't want to bring all my shit, and so, but the effects aren't the same every day. Like it just doesn't seem like a sustained release as it's marketed as. So I think people definitely need to understand that it definitely isn't just going to work in some fucking uniformed, even way throughout the next several. You kind of have to figure out how much it is releasing and then kind of adjust your protocol based on how you feel. There's a lot of unknowns in that situation, and probably that long study would explain a lot of that.
Yeah, you have testosterone undecanoate, libido, right? And they do the 4 milliliter shot, the 1,000 milligrams. And the first week you feel fucking great. Yeah. And then by the end of the week, you start to feel emotional because this is where the aromatization starts to happen, right? Week 2, you feel like a little girl. You want to watch the Titanic and cry and eat ice cream, you know? And then week 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, you cannot wait for the next injection. I think testosterone libido in a single shot or testosterone undecanoate is torture.
Yeah,
as hormone replacement therapy.
Because you see, would you suggest people microdose that or what?
I think you should microdose every ester because if you look into the clinical literature, every ester, regardless of the half-life, it peaks within 24 to 48 hours.
Right. Yeah.
So every other day administrations would be advised.
Yeah. Right. It does peak quickly. Yeah. I noticed on cypionate and enanthate, I could get away with every other day. Every day for me, I just wasn't getting enough to get the sexual function. Like I just need kind of a little bit more of a DHT conversion. I just need more at a time. So going back to these like differences in metabolism dynamics, it's as if that bolus just metabolized somewhat quicker, and I just got more per punch. Like I just got more at the ARs. I got more conversion to DHT. It's just such a fucking fascinating topic. Now I'm running I'm kind of in between protocols. I ran that DHT protocol for a while and started to see some hair loss, but had really great results on libido, erection quality, fucking fat loss. I was just shredded, just like
Yeah, I mean, since the last time we did a podcast, you got leaner, and I remember there was a year or something in between. And then when you go to the previous podcast, you have like a little bit of a round face, a little bit more of a beard, and you slimmed down tremendously, man. Good job on you.
Yeah, thank you. I mean, as we were talking about before we got on here, it's the drugs. It's honestly the that Proviron really is such a powerful fucking drug. And running that in conjunction with cream, it made fat loss as effortless as it's ever been for me, probably ever.
Yeah. Good. Good to hear.
Honestly, pretty crazy. But now, so I'm in between protocols running prop largely. I'm running 70 to 80 milligrams every other day. I'm kind of in a point now where, I've run long esters for a while. I've run various doses. I've run various administration methods. I've ran various frequencies. I've run cream alone. I've run prop alone, but there's a lot I haven't done. Like I haven't ran high dose prop every other day, which is kind of what I'm trying to see how I feel and where estrogen goes and how sustainable that is and what it does to the bloods. I haven't ran cream and prop. There are a small subset of people that are doing this sort of hybrid TRT thing where they've got cream that's facilitating a lot more DHT because it's applied scrotally, and then they've got a long ester or a short ester. So I kind of haven't done that yet. So I honestly am having a lot of fun. I'm having a lot of fucking fun doing
experimenting is fun, man. I love it. That's why I love this bodybuilding space. You can do protocol after protocol and learn something new every time.
Totally. I mean, I couldn't imagine how much over the years, like especially in bodybuilding, just from fucking with shit,
Too much.
Yeah, too much, right? That's why people are paying you the big bucks, bro.
Yeah.
So that's kind of where I'm at. And I kind of think test prop is making a bit of a comeback. I've talked about it a lot. For me personally, again, what sort of tipped me off to wanting to suggest it to other people was the libido, the erection quality, but the rapidness with which I could change the protocol, but also feel the effects. I mean, I'm feeling prop that day. I'm feeling it later that night. Like it's just, it's just very fucking quick. And whereas if you plot out a long ester, that you're really just kind of you're going like this very slowly, and it takes many weeks. And so, I know that prop is sort of inconvenient because you must inject it every day or every other day, or every third day at the very at the very least.
Okay.
But what is your, and the post injection pain sucks as well and whatever. But what is your take on prop for TRT? Would you rather have a person just try to dial in on a longer ester, or would you, in maybe cases where they kind of are having a hard time to fucking figure out what to do, what to inject, what the protocols, would you have them go on prop? Do you have guys on prop?
I have some guys on prop. Yeah. Like I'm of the opinion that whatever works. So if you feel great on prop, we'll stick with prop.
Yeah.
If you feel good on cypionate, we'll stick with cypionate. And if it's enanthate or undecanoate, whatever the injection protocol is, all you have to do is figure out what works for you. And that of course, takes a couple iterations, right? So if you're now after your, 2 years on HRT, something like that? Yeah. So after 2 years on HRT and some self-experimentation, you're leaning more towards prop. Yeah. You do every other day shots, and maybe you do the cream protocol alongside of that.
Yeah.
You do 5 milligrams scrotally and then 50 milligrams intramuscularly every other day.
Yeah.
And if you feel like a fucking god on that, then yes, by all means, keep doing it. That's all that matters. Like I figured out a long time ago that enanthate just works the best for me. Masteron enanthate, Primobolan enanthate, or methanol.
Yeah, I've heard you mention that.
Testosterone enanthate, it works best for me. I get the most stable levels. I don't get any fluctuations. I feel good. It always metabolizes. I don't get any post-injection pain. Right. So I tend more to lean towards enanthate for myself.
Yeah.
But if you like prop, you like 25 milligrams every day, and you notice in the evening that your libido goes up, because again, it metabolizes quite quickly. Most of the testosterone probes are in grapeseed oil or cottonseed oil or MCT oil, so that absorbs also very rapidly. Yeah. And if that means that it's also tapering down already as you go to bed, you don't get this wakefulness. Like some guys, they get anxiety, right? Or they get insomnia from TRT, especially in the beginning, because they're androgen deficient. They go from 200 nanograms per deciliter to 800. That's four times, right? And they're like, fuck, I can't sleep.
I know.
Okay, then maybe a low dose prop, subcutaneous or intramuscular in the morning, will just bring you up high during the day, and then from 8 o'clock it starts to taper, and then by 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock you can sleep again. Whereas with annotates, it's basically continuous the whole day.
Totally. One of the things about that whole anxiety thing at nighttime that I recognized, having to inject cypionate for this trip recently, and the first night having some anxiety, which I never fucking have. I mean, I could be running 70 a prop, which peaks me at 2,300 fucking nanograms per deciliter. Then I drop back down, and I have none of that. But, a 200 milligram shot of cypionate, and I, had a little bit of anxiety both nights, actually, the first night and the second night. The dynamics of how, first of all, how long they stick around, but also it's like I picture cypionate as being like when you inject it, yes, it's releasing from the depot. Over the next 7 hours, let's just call it 7 hours. Say you inject it at 2 p.m. and you're going to go to bed at 9 p.m. Over the next 7 hours, you just have, it's like what I picture it as is you have constant testosterone being metabolized. You just have constant testosterone around. There's no vertical peak. It's just sort of saturating from every fucking angle. And I theorize that has a different effect on neurotransmitter production and synthesis. That's what I think is happening. In some
100%, because look at the charts of testosterone release naturally. It's highest in the morning,
right,
and it's lowest in the evening.
Yeah, right. Yes. Oh yeah, definitely.
So there must be a reason for that. Now, you can, of course, create similar peaks by going with testosterone suspension, right? You'll be walking post-injection pain, right? You'll have pins and needles everywhere for the rest of your life. So, but there's a reason why it goes up in the morning and it tapers down at night. And same with growth hormone that pulses in the middle of the night to keep you asleep.
Right.
You know, so you can try to mimic all these pulses, which is difficult, obviously. Or you can kind of come as close as you can by injecting as early as possible and sticking with shorter esters. And then, of course, a shorter ester like testosterone propionate, you get net more milligrams testosterone because the ester comprises less of the stuff that you're injecting.
Right. Yep. Yeah, I've noticed that too. I mean, prop has just been very useful for me experimenting. It's been useful for a couple of guys of mine that are just having a hard time because of the steady state of a long ester. They're having uncontrollable acne, and these guys don't want to go on Accutane. They're working with me, and I'm getting all the sexual function people and sexual dysfunction people, and these guys know better than to try to fuck with that stuff. And so, I've just found prop to be, I guess, largely superior. You've got different things like cypionate. It's very fucking easy. When I pin that 200 milligrams, it's just a mill in and out, and I'm done. It took me 5 minutes to do the whole ordeal, and I didn't have to think about it for 7 more days. And I really liked that. But again, all these benefits from prop, being able to change it 2 days later if you're not satisfied with how the last 48 hours went. I just think, you got to weigh out what makes sense for you, what you're willing to tolerate, because the PIP sucks. Injecting frequently is kind of a pain in the ass, and then just kind of go from there.
Well, once you get into this, once Pandora's box has been opened, then it's never just one injection per day. It's after a while, it's multiple. Because then the ATG is there and the growth hormone is there, and there's a boatload of peptides you can experiment with. I haven't done only one shot in a very long time. Yeah, I do multiple shots per day. It's kind of crazy when you think about it, but it's a shot of testosterone and a shot of ATG and a shot of growth hormone and other stuff, and it just adds up. After a while, it just becomes normal. I do more injections than I brush my teeth, and I brush my teeth 3 times a day.
You're just you're just injecting shit. All day.
It's part of the game. I mean, my face it's square for a reason,
Yeah, man. I understand it. I love it. It is what it is. Again, I mean, like, every bit of it is impractical. Like, who natty that is rubbing cream on their balls or fucking, putting a needle, whether it's a 5/8 inch or a 1 inch or 1.5 inch, or it's a 1/2 inch, into their body every day. No one's doing that, right? Only us guys that are doing this shit are doing that. So we've already crossed over into crazy land. So
exactly.
Right.
And I think it's just a normal progression, because once you start adopting the lifestyle, you eat 3, 4, 5 meals a day as well. Yeah, you go 3, 4, 5 times to the gym per week. You take supplements multiple times per day. So once you get over the roadblock of injections, and especially for the guys that are a little bit adverse to intramuscular injections, just do everything sub-Q. you don't feel anything, you know?
Yeah, sub-Q is so much. I mean, I really don't have a problem myself with intramuscular, but sub-Q, I did for a while in the beginning of running Cypionate, and it was fucking easy. It's just
Yeah.
easy.
Yeah. So insulin syringes, you just draw what you need for the day, pin it, you go about your business, job done.
Yeah.
Easy.
Yeah. Very easy. Yeah, it's very easy. All right. So switching gear to estrogen, one of the things that I got to tell you that I have found, and I may be halfway kind of coming on board to the notion that some people, depending on their androgen load, can tolerate a little bit more estrogen. But there's a cap to that. It seems like, just to give an example, I was sitting at 3,000 or so nanograms per deciliter total test, just in my in between fucking with shit, state, and the estrogen was 63 picograms per milliliter. And for the first time in my TRT tenure, or my HRT tenure, I really didn't have a problem with that. Like, I didn't have any erectile issues. Like, everything was fucking really good. I pushed it a little bit above that, and then I started to get some issues, which I know are estrogen related. I kind of had to bring it back down again. But so number one, you've discussed this notion a lot, where as test goes higher, the estrogen should maybe go higher, or that people can tolerate it being higher. Is there a limit to that in your mind? Because I think a lot of people that are saying that same thing express it as if there isn't a limit of estradiol, that it can go to 150 and you're fine.
So I do think that as testosterone goes up, you can tolerate more estrogen.
Right.
But there's a cap to that, because it's usually from 60 to 70 picograms per milliliter. Most guys would start to get gyno or libido issues. And the weird thing is, you get gyno first before your libido starts to get worse.
Yeah.
All right. So usually your libido gets better as the estrogen goes up. And then the estrogen gets too high. Then you get soft erections. And then you get gyno.
Right. Yeah.
Or around the same time. So it's kind of weird. Like, in the beginning, like, oh man, I'm so fucking horny. All I want to do is fuck. Then your estrogen is like 45, just as an arbitrary number. And then after a while, you're like, oh man, I have to have sex twice a day. Then your estradiol is 50. And then at one point, it's like, I want to fuck so bad, but my dick is soft. It's 60. And then at 70, your dick is super soft, and your nipples start to hurt.
Yeah, totally.
And the funny thing is, there is some scientific evidence that DHT, that is testosterone, inhibits estrogen-mediated gene transcription.
Yes, it does. Yep.
So obviously, when testosterone goes up, you get more conversion into DHT, which allows for more serum estradiol, because a good portion of that is just not getting to the androgen or the estrogen receptor, and estrogen effects don't even seem to occur anymore, because the DHT is literally blocking that. This is why guys that take a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor get gyno.
Right.
Because it's the DHT that would otherwise prevent gyno. And now, of course, in this inhibition of testosterone not converting into DHT, all this excess testosterone converts into estradiol. So you get less of the blockade and more of the activity at the receptor side.
Yeah, totally. And so that's like two things there. I mean, that's why higher doses of testosterone make it so that people can tolerate a little higher estrogen, because you've got more DHT to offset that. That's absolutely a fucking thing. And it's fascinating. And at the same time, the people with PFS, people that were taking finasteride or any of these 5-AR inhibitors and have sexual dysfunction, they have opened up the pathway of aromatization via blocking the pathway of DHT reduction. And so that just becomes a disaster, because DHT is so critical. This is why I have to sort of laugh a little bit to myself when you got people saying that DHT is a trash hormone or is not useful or whatever, because it's so protective almost of some of the negative effects of estradiol without the presence of adequate androgens.
The guys that say that DHT are trash hormones are not entrepreneurs.
Right. No. Yeah. Right. Yeah.
I hate to fucking say it, but you need the DHT for the drive, man.
Yeah, totally.
You need it.
Totally.
I mean, how many guys get positive aggression from going on TRT without a 5-alpha reductase inhibitor? And then later on, they're like, you know what, this TRT stuff is fun. I want to go on Primo. And then they get into a whole new level of drive. I mean, I notice it myself. I'm on 150 tests, 125 Primo per week.
Okay.
And my motivation to work is just 10 times better as before, like 14 weeks ago when I was running ATG monotherapy. And I convert to DHT like crazy. My DHT
Yeah.
levels are like 2,000.
Wow. Wow.
My testosterone is, yeah, my testosterone is like 800 and my DHT levels are like 2,000. And somehow I don't get bald. Like, this is all self-induced, but I don't have any real hair loss for a 40-year-old, man.
Right. Why do you think that you convert so much to DHT? Is it because of your historic use of DHT based steroids? Is it your
no,
use of steroids in general?
I think the DHT just leaks out of the cells and it doesn't interact with the androgen receptor.
Okay.
Whereas my androgen receptors, they love Primobolan.
Right.
I throw in a little bit of Primobolan and I mutate. I change, right? I throw in a little bit of Masterone and I change. Same as Proviron, same as Winstrol, Anavar. My androgen receptors just love DHTs, but the actual DHT coming from testosterone doesn't seem to do anything.
Right. Yeah. Interesting.
You know?
Interesting. That's an interesting thing because, you know, the one thing I'm finding getting a client load of sexual dysfunction people, because I've sort of made myself that guy, like, and not by choice. People came to me on the neurotransmitter side because a lot of these conditions they thought were neurotransmitter based. And I did too initially.
And you've been hammering the dick videos.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. The dick videos. Dead dick syndrome recovery.
Yeah. Well, I mean, this is what you get, right? You throw knowledge out there related to a particular topic, and then they're like, I think Ryan can help me.
Yep, definitely.
So you get a lot of libido consultations. It's
absolutely
part of the game, you know.
It's part of the game. You know, it's rewarding because, you know, one, I had some sexual dysfunction in my early 30s from low testosterone and somehow high prolactin, probably some nootropics I was fucking with that I didn't quite understand how they were affecting prolactin. So I kind of feel for these guys, but working with them now and over the years, I found that kind of just what you said. It's like guys will go on pretty high dose testosterone and not have alleviation of their sexual dysfunction. And it always I mean, estrogen is playing a role here, but it always comes back to DHT.
Yeah, and the neurotransmitters like the dopamine is maybe unregulated or they're not sleeping well. And like with you know, when you go on TRT and you're not sleeping properly, or you haven't been sleeping for a long time, and this is why you have low testosterone, like you created a deficit for yourself. And some guys go into this TRT honeymoon period of 4, 6, 8, 12 weeks at maximum, and then their libido is really bad. Yeah. So it basically, the lifestyle means that you have to adjust everything and then stay within this narrow window of just okay, you have to say no to a lot of things, whether that's food or staying up late or you know, alcohol and certain supplements you took when you were younger and now don't metabolize anymore. As an example, today I took modafinil for the first time.
Wow.
In 1.5 years, and I felt fucking horrible.
Oh, really? Today? Earlier today?
Yeah.
Huh.
I was like, you know what? I want to start modafinil again because I had such a good experience. And 1.5 years I didn't run it, and I took 50 milligrams this morning. I'm like, I did not remember, and it's the exact same fucking box that I had. So
really,
it's not like I changed brand.
I wonder what it's doing. I mean, modafinil can make you release some histamine, which can almost act as an inflammatory response.
Yeah, maybe. I mean, I just felt like neurologically, like, and overstimulated.
Yeah, maybe that was it.
Yeah, maybe I built up a tolerance. I don't know, but it's just like as you get older, things change, and you know, I got a lot of guys like libido consultations that are in their 40s or 50s, and they aren't TRT, and they have money, and they can do everything right because they're basically retired, and they want to have the libido of a 25-year-old.
Yeah,
it's not going to happen, dude.
Right? Yeah,
it's not going to happen, no matter how much drugs you throw at it and how much you sleep. There's a reason why it's unwinding. And even if you're completely retired, you have zero stress. It's just, you know, a couple times a week. That's the best you can do. But you're not going to be horny for 7 shots a day.
Yeah, right.
That's when you're 20.
Right. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I mean, a lot plays into libido. Relative to estradiol, I'll tell you what, like, you know, on, God, what the fuck? I'm pretty sure it was just pinning 70 a prop every other day. And then running some calcium glucarate in the evening, 4 or 5 p.m. I actually bumped my DHEA dose up right around that time, just as estrogen was creeping to that 63 mark. I I probably had one of the best sex drives that I've had, on TRT. Like, it was fucking crazy. I mean, I was like wanting to stop my day and watch porn in the middle of working. I'd want to watch fucking porn and get to it.
I have to say, I wanted to start my day and make phone calls. You don't take much porn.
Well, hey, bro, you know what? Whatever's available. I was looking through my phone too, though, and looking at chicks, and I got myself into fucking trouble, actually. Bringing girls in that are, that I have no business fucking with. Let's just call it. Yeah. They shouldn't be in my life at all, and that's the kind of shit that happens. But you're right about, as estrogen is creeping up, but it's still in a reasonable range, and you've got enough DHT. It's like, holy fuck, man, the libido is crazy.
Yeah, but it's not like you can fuck 5 times a day. It's like one moment of the day, you're like, ooh, now I gotta get it done, otherwise I can't work. And I'm fixated on this moment now, but like, I remember when I was younger, I was just horny all day, and I didn't take anything. Right. The only stress I had was midterms, for school.
Yeah, totally, man. Yeah, dude. Like, I was going to ask you about your hair. Like, so you just decided to shave it. You like it better that way, but I can see that you really don't have a whole lot of intrusion in your hairline.
No, I got a little bit here when I did cerebrolizing. I think the brain-derived neurotropic factor cost a little bit, and I'm going to start running that soon at 5 milliliters intramuscularly before bed for about 1 or 2 months, because it's been a long time, and I just want to kind of reset everything. And let's see if I get any balder. But then again, you wouldn't really see it on my skull,
Right. Yeah.
I just don't like hair. I live in Thailand. It's too hot for hair.
No. I remember your old haircut. Your old haircut was
that was terrible.
It was kind of like a mohawk a little bit, but thicker.
Thicker. And I like my hair. If I grow this out, it's so much and it's so thick. Yeah, it's like like the rope you would have in a boat.
Right. Got it. Yeah. Jesus. Yeah. Well, I mean, that's probably why, people that have really good hair genes tend to do a lot better on TRT in regards to hair loss. Like, again, for, 2 years, I didn't have a shred of hair loss until I, until I basically just, took my DHT fucking sky high, with Proviron and cream. But then even off of it, derma rolling and kind of leaving that alone and letting DHT drop back into kind of high normal, it's growing back. It's growing back. I'm getting thickness again and that sort of thing. So yeah, that really is luck of the draw in terms of genetics until a certain point. If you're blasting DHT, steroids, you're going to have some hair loss no matter what.
I think at one point I'll get some hair loss, but when I look at my dad and my grandparents, I don't have so much. And then of course everybody is cursing at me because I'm the one who shaves my head willingly 3 times a week, but I have 0 hair loss. And then all the guys with hair loss are desperately trying to hold on to the little bit of hair they have left.
A little bit, yeah.
And then they go fly to Turkey, where you can either choose between the hair transplant or the Primobolan.
Yeah, bro. Yeah, the Primo. And honestly, I'm somewhat in that place because like you said, I get a DHT response from regular testosterone, but it's not as pronounced as DHT derivatives. It just isn't. And I'm just sort of weighing out like what I want to do. Could I tolerate a crew cut? Could I tolerate some shorter hair? I don't know about being completely bald, although some women do find it sexy so long as you've got a good looking in shape guy,
Well, you're in shape now. You got that beard going on like all the older actors. So I don't know. Well, what you can do is you go to one of those AI websites and you just post your mugshot and ask the AI to kind of make you bald or just trim it like this and then see what it looks like. Or you put those pictures on Tinder and just start scouting and maybe you get more swipes.
That's so funny.
Or more matches, right? So you and then all you have to do if you get a lot of matches and all those girls are like, yeah, we like Ryan Bald. Okay, well, you just put the fucking clipper to your face right before you go out, and then say, well, you get exactly what you swiped for, baby.
Yeah, totally, absolutely. That's so funny that we're talking about this. And recently, I just because I've been using dermaroller and kind of just looking into that whole side of things, I've seen I think it's called the Pitbull. It's a hair shaver that you kind of grasp with your hands. It has kind of like a hand harness, and then you just kind of run it on your head. And fucking Chase Irons is the guy on the commercial. Did you see that?
Really?
Did you see the commercial? Yeah, dude. It's on Facebook. It keeps popping up. it's like, God, what the fuck is the product called? I got to figure out this
I didn't
product.
know that.
I want to say it's called the Pitbull Hair Shaver, Skull Shaver. Yeah, the Skull Shaver. Yeah, it's just called the Skull Shaver. And literally on Facebook, the ads, it's Chase Irons, dude.
That's hilarious. I didn't know that.
Actually him. Yeah, you got to ask him, bro.
I got to ask it.
When I saw it, I'm like, oh, that's the guy that's been on Steve's podcast.
Yeah,
That's
because
definitely
I think they reached out or something similar reached out to me. And I said, yeah, send me a couple of things. I'll give it a try. And if I like it, I'll make a video about it. But they never sent anything over.
Interesting. Yeah, it's totally him. Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah. That's the thing. I mean, like I also for other men too, like especially people with sexual dysfunction, you're going to have to, eventually make a decision if you want erections and libido to be good. And you're not converting enough on testosterone because you've got one of these syndromes or whatever. I mean, I've seen some guys that had pituitary adenomas that secrete prolactin that also have downregulated 5-alpha reductase activity. They have syndromes that mirror PFS, which is not really in the literature, but it's really fucking weird. So those people have to decide, is it your hair, or is it your dick? Which do you want,
Yeah. I would go for the dick.
Yes.
Because you can fuck a face, obviously, but it's less pleasurable for the man.
Yes. Right. Exactly. Exactly. Yeah. Okay, man. So one of the things also that's been on my radar is just higher dosing TRT in general. Now, I obviously, when you go on a cycle of testosterone, there comes the need for a lot of additional health management. And we're talking about 800,000 milligrams a week plus. Then you really need to look at
that's not TRT anymore. That's bodybuilder dosages. That's
absolutely
just fucking cycles. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And so like when I've got to bump a guy's dose up, likely due to lack of DHT conversion, and they just don't want to jump on Proviron or Primo or a DHT derivative, it brings into question health management, blood pressure, hematocrit specifically. What I was going to ask you is, do you have a cookie cutter protocol for, or just commonly suggested things for blood pressure and hematocrit? I've heard you talk about all these things like telmisartan and, I think you and I have talked about naringin, the extract from grapefruit, but like, what do you have a guy do when he might just require, or he wants to run 350, 400 milligrams a test for health management for those markers?
Yeah. So for most guys, they actually don't need that much management if they just follow a lifestyle. So if you eat healthy and you do cardio and you take some regular health supplements, you'd be surprised how little blood pressure increase you have. Magnesium can undo a lot of the blood pressure issues, or getting a sleep study. If you have sleep apnea and that's causing the low testosterone, and you go on TRT, but you didn't fix your sleep apnea, then you still have high blood pressure. Yeah. So sleep study and magnesium, you can solve like 99% of the problems already. Right? Blood pressure will be reduced, the hematocrit comes down, lipids will probably be better. And then, but assuming you live the lifestyle and you still get these issues, then yes, telmisartan or enalapril or nebivolol, right, that all helps with blood pressure management. And then enalapril is actually pretty good at reducing high hematocrit levels as well. Really?
So it's,
but you can also, it's a double whammy. But then again, you can take nattokinase or lumbrokinase or serrapeptase to bring your hematocrit down. Right. Or IP6 to prevent iron absorption, which will bring your hematocrit down.
Oh, wow. I did not know that about that. Wow. That's interesting.
Or methylene blue. 10 milligrams per day, brings it down also. So there's what do you want? You have bring your hematocrit down with an ancillary. That's like a side effect, I would say. Yeah. But you want that side effect. And now you have 5 to 7 compounds to choose from that have a beneficial effect that you might want.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, so you're opening up, the possibility of experimenting further to target, goals, physique goals or whatever kind of goals, largely physique goals in those cases.
So if you don't need any blood pressure management, I would go with methylene blue. You get your nootropics and your energy levels up,
right?
And then the hematocrit comes down.
Yeah.
And if you need blood pressure management, then you go with enalapril or telmisartan. And then it kind of depends on how much blood pressure management you need. Maybe you need to reduce your sympathetic drive. Maybe you're a little bit anxiety, a little bit anxiety, or you have a lot of public speaking, or you're, I don't know, a cello player, whatever. Then you go with Nabivolo.
Cello player.
Yeah.
Funny, bro.
I know, if you're a musician or something, then you go with Nabivolo. Right.
Yeah.
All of those will reduce your blood pressure, and they have an overlapping beneficial effect somewhere else.
Right.
So I think the only thing that only has one single purpose is ezetimibe, and that's basically reducing your cholesterol levels.
Right.
Doesn't have any other benefits.
Yeah. So just out of curiosity, the mechanism of action of telmisartan, how is this lowering blood pressure? Do you know exactly what it's doing to do that?
So it's an angiotensin receptor blocker, and angiotensin is the one that increases blood pressure.
Right. Okay. So it's just blocking that receptor and lowering.
Exactly. Yeah. So you have an ACE inhibitors and angiotensin receptor blocker. So you have angiotensin converting enzyme, right, from angiotensin 1 to 2. So that is blocking the conversion. It's the same as thyroid medication, right? One is active, one is not. T4 is inactive, and then you have the deiodinase enzymes that metabolize one iodine atom, and now T3 is active. Okay. It goes from 4 iodine atoms to 3. Right? So one iodine atom is recycled for additional T4 production. Right. And it's the same with angiotensin. So if you inhibit the conversion, then you just remain with the inactive version. Yeah. And it can't interact with the receptor. Right. But that has, so lisinopril, for example, is an ACE inhibitor. Yeah. But that can give you a dry cough. So that's a side effect. You feel like an old lady that smoked her entire life, you know? So that's something you don't want. Okay, so you have telmisartan, and then the side effect would be to modulate your hematocrit levels.
Right. Yeah. Right. Interesting. So, you can go too low on these things too. Like you mentioned that, there's a threshold there. I noticed something really interesting. Like I dropped my hematocrit from high 48 to 42 from fucking running every day. Which is just phenomenal for me. Like I now I realize, looking at blood work from 10 years ago when I was running every day, why my hematocrit was low. I was like, was I anemic when I was 30? No, I had sports anemia, which is healthy. You're a fucking athlete. So it
you don't need so much because you're super optimized. That's why I say you live the lifestyle, and it includes cardio. So as long as you do cardio or some running or swimming or whatever, then your hematocrit is probably not going to budge.
It really, or go down. It was like remarkable how much it went down when I was, at my peak at the time during, that protocol at 3,000 nanograms per deciliter of testosterone. Like that, and 42 hematocrit, like that's unheard of. That's how powerful the lifestyle stuff is. Where I was getting at though is that also, like, my blood pressure sits at 120 over 75, 120 over 80, typically just right at the normal range. But since running, it's now 110 over 75, 110 over 65, and it's hard to get it over that. And a few times when I wasn't consuming enough sodium for the sodium I was expending in the runs, I started fucking feeling bad. Fucking feeling bad, bro. So like that's the kind of shit that, can happen if your blood pressure goes too low. That's not fun either.
No, I know. And then you feel lightheaded, you feel like fainting. Yeah. And then of course having a little bit of sodium or having a stimulant can kind of get you out of that. Some of the nootropics are of course stimulatory, they'll contract your blood vessels. Yeah. But I think it's better to have low blood pressure or borderline low blood pressure than high blood pressure, because that's easier to fix. All you have to do is have a little bit of sodium or maybe some caffeine, that might kind of normalize your arteries as well. So there's so many ways around that. So most guys nowadays, like before we were really heavy on the ancillaries, and nowadays I'm like, you know what, let's introduce everything and then the ancillaries last. And then if you do need it, okay, we know exactly what to take. You look for an ancillary with multiple benefits or side effects that are beneficial, and then you stick with that. I so much stuff that might come into play later, but of course, if you're bodybuilding, you take a gram of testosterone. Yes, you might need an aromatase inhibitor and blood pressure management and cholesterol management, and maybe even a beta blocker to prevent negative heart enlargement.
Right. Yeah, that's one of the things that I think people really have to watch out for when they're just ultra high dosing tests. I was watching Thomas Clark, I think his name is, the anabolic doc, talk about this
Mm-hmm.
recently. And I think the video was like 1,500. What the fuck was it? Yeah, it was like 1,500 milligrams of test a week, guy's blood work. And then, on that guy, there was coronary artery calcification. So he had like a high calcium score, and there was a little bit of LVH.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I mean, which I think is reversible, is it not? Is LVH is reversible? Yeah.
Yeah, it's very reversible. Even a regurgitation of the valves and overall heart enlargement. I had heart enlargement when I was 120 kilos.
Yeah.
And it was uniform, so I didn't have left ventricular hypertrophy. I didn't have any thickening of the wall, but my heart was just bigger than average, and it was bigger than what would be considered athlete's heart, right? Because I took good amount of steroids and I trained like a fucking animal. So what do you expect? But I was running Nebivolol and Telmisartan to kind of keep my blood pressure in range and my heart rate down. And then I came off. I just did a lot of cardio and my heart came back to normal size.
That's a beautiful thing. Yeah, that's a beautiful thing, man. So we've talked about this before, and you were forced to get the what, and so you have high trope. What is the marker that is awry there?
Troponin T and pro NT or NT pro BNP. Okay, so these might indicate that parts of my heart don't get enough oxygen, and there might be some fibrotic tissue.
Yeah. Trope is like the major indicator for MI, in a clinical setting, or for damage or whatever. But I haven't paid a whole lot of mind to that other one.
And the funny thing is, I've done MRIs and echoes just to kind of see after I got those two complementary shots to see if there's anything that shows up in the imaging, but nothing shows up.
Nothing.
No. Huh. And I did imaging before because I was scared that I might have some, cardiac enlargement or the calcium score that was not 0, but that was 0. So I did routine. Yeah, I did routine screening just before because you heard all the horror stories, and then at one point you get forced for a visa to take it.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just unfortunate. I mean, it's what can you do? You can't reverse it. But yeah, there's clear signs that it caused some damage with me, not because of the steroids. Right. I went to do blood work over 120 times. And I tested these markers many, many times before they were all normally in range. And afterwards, after the booster shot, it just got worse. Yeah. So in my...
Not uncommon.
No, it's not uncommon. I see it all the time, but people just don't want to talk about it.
Yep. Yeah. Now maybe we've moved into a place where, it like every time someone asks you a question on your, I think I just fucking froze. Hold on one second.
Oh, you froze. Yeah.
Yeah, I did freeze. Can you still hear me?
I can still hear you, but if it's froze here, then it's probably not. There it is. Yeah,
there it is. Yeah, I think we're back.
Yeah.
Holy fuck, that was weird. Let me just make sure everything's straight here.
It happens. You just cut it out in post production.
Yeah, I think it's just a hookup, hiccup. But now I think, look, I mean, especially if Trump gets in, like the landscape really has already changed in terms of censorship. Like I think that the left wing, which is predominantly the people that are censoring people, libertarians over here and conservatives do not censor people on social media platforms. We just don't do that. But it's largely been them. There were some Senate hearings with one of the heads of one social platform. A lot of the CEOs though were sort of like grilled in Senate hearings for their kind of censorship or their obstruction, prevention of certain information getting out relative to the previous election, relative to Biden and his family and et cetera. I think people kind of know what I'm referring to there. And then, Elon takes over Twitter and discovers, all of this stuff, which involves the government kind of colluding with Twitter to hide shit in the favor of the candidate that they wanted at the time. It was really fucked up. So,
same as with the pandemic, it's censoring.
Yeah. Yes. Like, so they got, they kind of got in the public view more. We all knew they were doing it, right? But it became a little more proven and just sort of in the public view. And so to a degree, I feel like they've backed off of that. It could always happen again, though. It could always fucking happen again. If we allowed that sort of shit to happen once and they recognized that they could get away with it, you know, there's still a possibility for it to happen again. But fortunately, there's a guy, God, his name is John something. I think he was either a nurse or maybe an orthopedic doctor. He's got some sort of medical history, medical background, but he has pointed out every single piece of literature on, you know, the deleterious effects or some of the negative outcomes, biomarkers that change negatively from getting getting these things, and they haven't fucked with his channel yet.
Not yet.
Yeah,
But there's more channels talking about this. So
yeah,
I think like this is one of the reasons why I just don't do crazy protocols anymore, because I don't know what's going on. There's not enough data to go around to really see if I'm safe or not.
right.
So I keep things kind of modest, and plus I'm 40 years old. I don't want to do these crazy bodybuilding protocols anymore.
Yeah,
And I got all the size that I want. Like I'm 125 pounds, and what more do you want? You know, so
definitely. Yeah.
So it's not like I want to go back to 250, 260 when I might have a compromised heart. So it's not responsible to do that. So I check them every month. They're kind of slightly elevated, but stay stable. Yeah. And I don't push it super hard. And every year I do an echo just to kind of see what's going on. I have normal heart function. Yeah. No regurgitation, no trivial, no atrium problems, no skipped beats, or what is it called? Right. What is it called?
Tachycardia?
Tachycardia. Exactly. I don't have any of that. So as long as the imaging says that I'm fine, then I can push, I don't know, PEDs a little bit. But I would also be the first one to say that if I see health deteriorate, that I would just come off. Yeah, and even when I come off, my testosterone levels are 400 to 600, which is livable.
Right. You know? Yeah, livable. I mean, yeah, that's like bottom. I mean, at that point, though, wouldn't you run HCG monotherapy?
Yeah, probably. But I did that for an entire year, and I was kind of bored of it. My testosterone was like 800, 900.
Yeah, I remember you talking about it. Yeah.
Oh, God.
Yeah. The funny thing is you kept a good degree of size. Like I remember a couple times where you sort of showed your physique on HCG. Now, obviously, like, you weren't as yoked as you are now or prior when you were able to run things. But it's like, yeah, you must have really fucking worked hard. I'll tell you that, over the last many years prior to that, to be able to retain mass enough to still look pretty fucking jacked, even on HCG monotherapy. I couldn't get away with that now. I'm only dipping now into pushing very, very super physiological levels of testosterone. So it's
just very hard or very easy to maintain size. And when I look at the pictures now, I was like, oh, I don't look that bad. But I would take pictures and almost cry, because I would compare it to like my previous good shape, and I would look at it like shit. But that only would drive me to work harder.
Yeah, totally.
Like,
definitely.
I got to stay in shape. I got to bring this body part up, and then manipulate my diet a little bit. And so when I look at those pictures now, like after a year off just running HCG and a little bit of growth hormone, I did not look bad at all.
Yeah, right.
But now I look a lot better.
Yeah. Now you're feeling like this is where your standard is. You know what I mean?
Yeah. And the funny thing is, like when I compare pictures now to like when I was 110 kilos. So that's 25 pounds more, 22 pounds. Yeah. I kind of look like shit. But since I looked like more like shit back then, and then I went up a little bit, it's a progression up. Yeah. And looking like 110, 120 kilos, it's like years ago. So I don't know what that kind of felt like. Yeah. And I'm filling out all my clothes. So it's, I'm happy being 100, 105 kilos. It's okay.
Yeah, it's okay. Man, it's a beautiful thing. Men, generally look in a woman's eyes bigger. They just do. They just fucking do. The smaller you are, the more a woman kind of just, there may be an attraction there, but
I went to Holland and Dubai, and of course in Dubai and Holland, when you go to the gym, everybody's like, oh, holy shit. But when you walk on the street, people are like, what the fuck is that? It's not a compliment. Even if I dress up, well, I had a couple of days where I looked good and went out to dinner with my wife, and they're not looking at you like, oh, this guy's super attractive. And
the girls there, the women? The
women are not looking at you like, oh, this guy's, that's a real prime piece of meat. They're just looking at you like, what the fuck is this?
Interesting. Isn't there a lot of bodybuilders over there?
Yeah, in the gym, it's fine, right? They're like, oh, fuck, Steve, what's going on? You look shredded, even if you don't know you. But on the street, like general population, they're appalled by a physique like this. And I get it. It's not like I want to be... I probably was more in the running for for women when I was off. You know, when you look more streamlined, not so 3D. My face was a lot more slim than it is now.
Yeah.
You know, and they would probably say, "Hey, it looks pretty good." You know, if you dress up, it looks pretty good. But now, no, too thick, man. My chest enters the room before my face.
That's hilarious. Yeah, those women. Well, I mean, certainly Middle Easterners. I know from my time in Iraq, like those guys, the men over there, they're not lifting weights. They were all basically skinny. You know what I mean? Yeah, very thin, skinny men without a whole lot of muscle mass.
I will say this: every time I go to the Middle East, the Arab women, they do love this shit.
Yeah.
They do love this shit. But so when I was muscular, right, and you fill out because you eat a lot of Lebanese food and it has some you know, a lot of good meat and some baklava and pastries and all that shit. A lot of sweets. So I gained like, I don't know, 5 kilos, but just good size, right? Yeah. And then I'm walking around there in Dubai Mall, and they're like, all these Arab women, they're like, hey, what the fuck is this? And I wanted to take pictures, and I asked my wife, so can I take a picture with your guy? I said, yeah, of course. You can take a picture. And they're all wearing these traditional dresses, right? So it's hilarious. Yeah. And the same thing happened when I went to Kuwait. There was, I came out of Oxygen Gym, a Rolls Royce pulls out. These people are super rich. A Rolls Royce with a driver. A girl comes out of the top and out of the side. The top is like the roof window, right? No way. And they just start taking pictures. Just like, pose for us. In our fucking.
Right, let's go.
I have no idea what happened to those pictures, but yeah. So those are my experience with you know, Arabic women, and so far so good.
Yeah, man. You know,
they must have a private Facebook group somewhere where they just
for sharing your pics.
Random Caucasian guys to pose and look at this guy.
Yeah, you know, with anabolism, it's the one thing I noticed doing cardio, and I'm not really even doing heavy cardio. I'm running 3-4 miles a day. If I'm feeling like I need like a deload, I'll run 1.5 miles, 2 miles or something. Is that, you know, because of the glycogen depletion, I have a hard time getting carbs back in enough to replete that glycogen. And so it does fuck with my anabolism to an extent. But, and again, I have found that prop is just seemingly less anabolic than cypionate. I just find I'm fucking way more anabolic on cypionate. So, but, which, you know, is a whole other topic. But I really don't mind it. I don't mind being a little less anabolic because I've got the blood pressure benefits. I got the hematocrit benefits. I have the cognitive benefits. I've got the brain derived neurotrophic factor benefits from running. And honestly, it's a fucking good trade-off. And I can eat a lot. I can eat a lot more, and I love it.
Yeah, and plus you look a lot leaner. So at one point, maybe when you feel like I'm getting too lean, okay, then you add an extra meal before bed, and it consists of pasta or some slow digesting carbs like some potato, and then you'll reglycogenate before you do the run.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. That might be.
Or you do some intra workout. You know, some easy to drink shake, and then you don't really run fasted, but you have something that kind of holds you over.
Yeah, that might be a good option. I definitely like the rounded shoulder look, and that's one of the things that running every day, you know, it's just made my shoulders a little. It makes me that I've got to work a little harder at the gym, you know, on the shoulders. Like I'm just putting a little more fucking work in, you know, to keep them reasonably good. Yeah,
it's always tough trying to find the balance. I have the same thing when I do a lot of cardio, just kind of deflate a little bit.
Yeah. Right. Yeah.
So I do my 20 minutes and that's it. 20 minutes, 30 minutes in the morning, depending on how I feel. And then I walk in between sets at the gym. So I kind of keep going. And then nobody bothers me at the gym.
Right. Totally. Do you jump on a treadmill for your 20 minutes of cardio? Is that what you're doing?
I have an elliptical. I like that one the most. Yeah.
Sweet.
Elliptical. Cool. Yeah. So I just love it. You know, go pretty high intensity, heart rate about 135 beats per minute. Yeah. And then I go for at least 20, and then, you know, depending on how I feel, 20 minutes. Sometimes it's easy, sometimes it's a little bit hard. So usually at the beginning of the week it's 30 minutes. Today I did 30. Tomorrow I'll do 30, and then maybe Friday, Saturday I'll do like 20, 25.
Nice. Yeah. I feel like that's where you really get the benefits, is when your heart rate goes crazy. And that, you know, for me, that's just like that had to have been when, you know, the blood pressure was really, really dropping, and then the hematocrit was going down. There's a lot of really positive shit happening when you don't even have to do it for long. I mean, I'm running maybe 20, 25 minutes a day, basically just like you. And I'm out there pushing, but I reach a critical threshold of force of running and heart rate that, like, it's just all manner of fucking positive shit is happening. That's why
exactly.
Yeah, people suggest high intensity interval training for that very reason. You get that heart rate up, start making all these positive physiological changes, and it's like you don't really need a whole lot more than that.
No, and it's very time efficient because I'd rather be working than sitting an hour on the cardio machine.
Oh,
so I get it done in 20, 30 minutes. And then, you get the job done. You get all of the benefits, but none of the tiredness or to the point that you really get depleted. And then you save yourself 30 minutes where you can actually make money. So, and that's why I walk in between sets, because you go to the gym and you can easily get like maybe 3,000 to 5,000 steps in.
Yeah.
If you just walk laps in the gym.
Yeah. Yeah.
So I do a set, I do a lap. I do a set, I do a lap. So I'm never sitting still.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah,
that's a good way to, I guess, break it up in between sets too. Get your rest while walking.
And then nobody opens up a conversation. So I always have the same pace. Like I'm in between sets is always one lap at the gym.
Yeah.
Instead of I do a set and then somebody's like, hey, Steve, what do you think about, MK677? And then before we know it, we're 5 minutes ahead and I lost my pump and I'm no longer warm. And then, my workout is ruined. So
shit.
Yeah. So I always tell people, after I'm done walking, you can come talk to me.
Yeah. Speaking of the gym, and this is sort of a separate topic that I just thought about. There's this girl that has been going to my gym for a while. She, I think in the past, she probably maybe took a little testosterone, or she, maybe ran like a low dose of an oral or something. But she's 45 years old. She's always been pretty lean. She's in great shape. She's got a great butt. So she's definitely worked on everything for many, many years. But, she came to me, we just became friends, and, she was like, I'm just kind of, yeah, that's how it starts. Yeah, she's very a platonic friend because she's very masculine, and I am just the opposite of what I'm attracted to. I like very fucking feminine women, and she is just very fucking masculine, bro. But she was saying to me, she's like, I feel like I'm hitting a wall a little bit. I don't seem to, my body doesn't really change. It's harder for me to put the work in and even see a change, and I can't really even push past that point. I'm just barely maintaining what I have, and so let's just say that I facilitated her, getting on a little bit of testosterone, just a little bit. Yeah, I think she's running like between 2.5 and 5 milligrams a day of testosterone.
Probably too high already.
And right, dude, transformative, fucking transformative. I mean, she's just chipper. She looks better. Her skin is lighter. She's got a little bit of a saucy look. She doesn't have any virilization, thankfully. But
I would drop it down to 2 milligrams every other day.
Every other day.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Sub-Q. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what she's
now that she got the benefits, I would just a maintenance dose. I would do 2 milligrams every other day.
Yeah. Yeah.
And otherwise, and then add in some DHEA. Yeah. 25 milligrams. Because that converts into testosterone and estrogen as well. But direct testosterone, I would kind of keep low at less than 1 milligram per day.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And then see how she does. Because there will be virilization over time. Now, if she ran something in the past and she's already a little bit butch by herself, then I mean, she can get away with a little bit of virilization.
Right. Yeah, she is and has. That's why I mentioned it to her. I'm like, I don't know if you should really be running 5 milligrams a day. I don't think she does it every day, but every now and then she does that for a pump or whatever. She just wants to fuck around. But I think there's got to be, testosterone at the very least in her history. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. If she has experience with it, then I'm not against it. I think when my wife gives birth, she'll be on DHEA as well.
Yeah.
Because she ran a little bit of DHEA for the IVF treatment, and she's just like, oh, this is pretty good again,
Yeah.
So 25 milligrams a day. She got a little bit of acne, but that's okay. We can mitigate that with better diet. So I'm not against it, man. Women over 40. A little bit of test, a little bit of DHEA, and then if they want to get lean, a little bit of Clen or Mirabegron or another beta-2 or beta-3 receptor agonist. I'm not against it, man. I mean, fuck, you're old, you know what you want. And if you live the lifestyle, it's okay to run a little bit.
Yeah.
I think it's fine.
Yeah, definitely. I've seen, every now and then I'll see a woman that's 50, 55, and I can almost tell that she's a little anabolic. You know what I mean? Like you can just tell a little bit in her face.
But it's also post-menopause. So the estrogen comes down and they still produce a good amount of testosterone. So that ratio is completely different than when they were in their 20s. So they have relatively a lot higher testosterone. And if you complement that with a little bit of DHEA or injectable testosterone, oh man. Yeah, they're so much better.
Different world.
They're so much better. Yeah. My wife will be ready to start HRT at one point.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, man. Yeah, you'll have to keep folks posted on that. You know, if she ends up doing that, and how, you know, you guys and your wife. That's what you're saying. Your wife.
Yeah, my wife. Yeah, my wife. Like right now, she's off everything. She took like 2 courses of all those fertility medications for egg retrieval. Yeah. And now we're ready to start implanting. So before she can start HRT, we're at least 1 kid in. So that's ATA at least 10 months.
Yeah.
Implantation start next month, give or take.
Right.
And then if the first egg sticks, then 9 months later, and then she needs to do breastfeeding. So
yeah.
And before she could start, it's like 2 years ahead.
Yeah.
So, but
yeah, that'd be interesting to see.
Over before you know it.
Oh yeah, fuck yeah, man! Especially when you have a kid. Oh my god, that's gonna go. Yeah. That's gonna blow by.
Yeah, she definitely needs some HRT so she can sleep.
Yeah, fuck yeah, bro. All right. So one of the other things I wanted to bring up was, look, I've got to get with you on DHT powder, but DHT cream availability. Now, this Andractim stuff has not. It's just I don't think it's been in stock since I first found about
it's available. It's available again.
It is interesting. I did not know that. I did not going to make a note.
$280 per tube.
Yeah. Okay. Interesting. Let me make a note and email that to myself because I did not know that.
On my source list.
Yep. That's a fucking beautiful thing.
But I think it's better if you compound it yourself. You get to one of the places where they sell DHT powder. Yeah. You just get whatever easy moisturizing, fully absorbing cream you can get from your wife's or your girlfriend's or one of your partners' cabinet. So a vitamin E cream that is easy absorption, highly moisturizing, and you just throw the DHT powder in there and shake it up. Yeah. And you apply it to your penis or wherever you want it. That is way cheaper. That's way cheaper. Yeah, I had $280 for a tube of Andractim. That's theft.
Yeah, I understand that. That would be, that's obviously a big fucking price difference.
Just on that 120.
Oh God, yeah. Well, just like fucking Primo used to be cheaper because of you, it's double.
I point people in the right direction, and these fuckers keep increasing the prices. What can you do?
Yeah, when I think I spent $120 for like 400 milligram ampules, or maybe more. I forget what it was, but I got them in, and I was like, "Fuck, this is it. This is all I got for that." Yeah, but it is what it is. So boner gains, I guess people are using DHT cream for that, right? And what do you, if people are getting either length gains or just like rigidity gains, what do you think is happening? You think you just got androgen receptor binding and you've got some endothelial optimization, some nitric oxide improvement? Is that what
that's what it is? Yeah, nitric oxide and endothelial optimization. You just get slightly harder, thicker boners.
Right. Yeah.
And like my boners were raging, but then again, I also took Cialis and growth hormone around that time. Yeah. So I applied everything before bed, and then you wake up and you have to pee, and you're like, you can't.
Yeah. Shit.
You can't. Wow. You have to do a handstand.
Yeah. Yeah. So really that effective, huh? That powerful.
Yeah. And I can't say that my penis got any bigger than, when you have a lot of foreplay and then and then finally you stick it in and you're like, oh, I can't believe my dick is so big. It's because it's just been pumping full of blood for 30 minutes while you've been kissing and smooching. And then you finally whip it out, you're ready to put it in, and you're like, oh, Jesus Christ. Yes, sir. And normally you don't have foreplay that long. I tell my wife, and she's like, okay. So it's up and in.
Yeah.
So with the DHT cream, it's basically like creating this scenario where you have a lot of foreplay, a lot of engorgement, and then it's just a little bit thicker and harder. Right. And then of course, if you come to that point and then you're ready, then you thoroughly need to wash your penis because otherwise you're going to transfer this DHT cream into your partner's vagina, and there is something as transvaginal absorption. Oh
yeah, totally. Absolutely. Yeah, they absorb all manner of shit, including STDs that way. Yeah. That's how they get it.
If only that didn't happen.
I know, bro. They're so, I feel sorry for girls because they're actually so much more susceptible than us to getting STDs, like vaginally. They have so much more permeable tissue.
Well, you only have the tip.
Yeah,
but
we've got the urethra. Yeah.
Yeah, that's it. That's it. But they have the entire tissue. Like for example, progesterone absorbs transvaginally. You have estradiol absorbs transvaginally.
Right.
Testosterone and even pheromones and all kinds of stuff, it just absorbs. So DHT cream, you really got to rinse that off if you use that to enhance your member. You know, wash it 10 times. You know, put the pandemic practice on it, and all those wiping techniques.
Yeah,
and then, but of course, it's a bit of a boner killer because it takes you 5 minutes to kind of rinse everything off.
Yeah, you're better off doing it, like you said, like at nighttime, you know, trying to get gains that way and then see how you fare. Now, do you think that the one question I've always had, and I recently, just as an experiment, just to sort of see if there were any changes, started using test cream just to pump kind of just on the shaft. Do you think that like it's gonna transfer, right?
Yeah.
And so what do you think that would do? I mean, it's obviously not as
better than nothing.
Yeah, I guess it's not
I never understood why everybody in the TRT community put it on their scrotum when in reality you should just put it on your dick.
Yeah.
In my opinion, that's what I would do. I don't like TRT cream because I don't want to transfer anything to my partner, right?
Yeah.
And when I did that Andrectim DHT cream experiment, I wore boxer shorts, and then every night I would throw them in a separate bin and then wash that separately on 90 degrees Celsius. So I would just fucking kill everything. Yeah, because I didn't want to transfer that to my partner. So this is what I'm always worried about with testosterone cream. But yeah, if I had testosterone cream, I would not put that on my scrotum. I would put it on my junk, my dick.
From a serious
if we get any overlap, then I would take it, dude.
Right. Yeah. Well, from a serious perspective, I mean, would you be making less DHT via less 5-alpha reductase and penile tissues, or would
not sure what the expression is of 5-alpha reductase in it?
And penile tissues? Yeah, me neither. I know that there's got to be some to an extent. I mean, there's obviously ARs, but the degree to which you've got conversion to DHT from tissue is unclear. But
what you do is you get a hard on, you lay it on a piece of paper, you outline it. This is what I did. And then you apply 1 or 2 pumps of testosterone cream to your penis overnight for the next month. Take 5 milligrams, 10 milligrams Cialis and 2 IU's growth hormone at the same time, all before bed. And then draw the same outline a month later and let us know. That's what I did, man. And like on the side, it's like a millimeter thicker, but then at the tip, you know, you have like half a centimeter.
Interesting. Yeah, that's I mean, that's interesting data there. Yeah, there's something about it. You know, Russo talks about this kind of shit a lot, or at least he did. So, you know, I mean, DHT cream specifically, or just DHT transdermally, is just what your people are using, or what studies are using for guys that have underdeveloped dicks. You know, they fucking use DHT cream and it works. So, you know, it's plausible to assume that that test cream may have, albeit to a lesser extent, you know, somewhat of a similar effect.
I'll tell you, I'll be the first one to say my wife did not notice a fucking difference.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah. Hey,
she's
maybe
like, oh, it's so much bigger now. But of course it's gradual. So like, even if I gained like a couple millimeters of girth and a couple millimeters of length temporarily, like in the meantime, you have intercourse. So it's like, you know, she's acclimatizing to the slowly increasing size.
Yeah.
So if you only have intercourse with somebody once a month and then you whip out your new and improved penis with half or let's say a couple millimeters extra, then they might be impressed. I think honestly, if you get a bathmate or an LA pump and you pump, you know, right before, you probably get more girth. Now, what would happen if you throw in a little bit of DHT powder into your
on top of a bathmate or something? Yeah, I mean, that would be complete erectile hacking. I mean, totally. Yeah, those things are fucking powerful. You know, I've run pumps before, and I mean, it's obviously a superficial erection, and it doesn't look like a regular erection. It's very fucking engorged. Kind of crazy how it can get, but if you ran that with some DHT cream, I think you'd actually have fucking real noticeable gains.
And I think if you just get like DMSO, and you have water, you add in a little bit of DMSO, and then DHT powder, and you let it marinate for 20 to 30 minutes into your bathmate. I think that would work. Yeah, I think that'd work.
That'd probably work. Shit. Oh, we're giving people are going to be trying shit now, man. You know that.
Well, I'm gonna. Bathmate is gonna send me one of their pumps, so I'm gonna try this experiment. Yeah, in about a month. Yeah. I'm gonna try it. I'm gonna whip out all the stops.
Do it. Yeah, those are pretty cool. With pumps, I was fucking around with pumps for a while, and one of the things that I noticed is that the ones that are automatic and that go to a certain pressure automatically and just stay there, the pressure may actually be too much, for you. Like it might fucking hurt. Like you got to find the optimal pressure so that you don't like damage blood vessels and cause like a degree of temporary damage, which sometimes can either make it hard to get a boner for the next day or two or a couple days. Like I've seen that happen before. Or just cause some temporary tissue damage or something that usually heals. So the manual pumps, I was using those for a while just for the fuck of it to see if I could get better erection quality or just kind of more girth. And it was hard to tell. I wasn't really running. I wasn't running DHT cream with it. I wasn't running a DHT derivative at the time. But I got to tell you, it seemed as if it made erections better during sex. They're just a little bit better. And so, pumps are used when people have like prostate removal from prostate cancer. It's one of the things. It's part of getting their erection quality back to the extent that they can get it back in that situation.
Right. There's a study that I covered about HCG where they actually did some sort of intervention on rodents. With penis pumping, and then HCG was able to lengthen the penis, but that was indirectly due to increasing hormone levels.
Right. Well, yeah. I mean, there's got to be something else to HCG and like erectile quality or erectile intrapenile like blood flow dynamics.
Yeah, it's just the increased hormones just results in a cascade of increased penile tissue.
Right.
Right. And then combine that with pumping. This is why Bathmate contacted me, because I said it's basically a study about Bathmates on cycle. So they're like, you know what, you want to run that experiment? We'll send you one.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Fuck yeah, they will.
So that's what I'm going to do. So I'll be on TRT, HCG, and the testosterone or DHT cream and Cialis and growth hormone, and then we're just going to see what's going to happen.
Well, that'd be. It's useful shit for some men that may want to either, have growth gains or that may want to restore erection function, because it'd probably be, an application for that as well.
Plus, it's fun to, make your dick bigger. I mean, it's just, there's a couple cool things in life. Like one of them is driving a nice sports car. Yeah. Another one is fucking a supermodel. And then the other one is, getting your dick super big. So, oh my God.
Yes, sir.
So I'll take one for the team and design a protocol. And then I have IGF-1. So, I'm not going to inject that into my penis. I'm not going to inject papaverine or anything else to engorge it. But I can take IGF-1 systemically and growth hormone and Cialis or whatever. Yeah. And collagen and vitamin C and hyaluronic acid. And then whatever ends up in the penis while it's being, volumized, then maybe we'll, maybe I'll gain an inch, and my wife will still not notice a fucking difference. But
that's funny, bro.
That's
hilarious.
If she says like, please stop the experiment, then we know that it was a success.
There, you've got some success. Yeah. Women can tell when when a guy is bigger than average size. Let's just call it that. They can fucking tell, and they do tell. Do enjoy that more. Interesting.
Of course,
the word on the street is true. Yeah, they do.
Of course, there's a point of diminishing returns, and that I would say if you have an inch or two open space where you can't go any further and you can't even connect the pelvis, then I would say that you're a bit oversized. Yeah, and then you're missing a very intimate moment where you still have to connect on multiple angles. Yeah,
there's a point at which it's definitely too much. I had a girl tell me one time. So I still actually have it. I got some Trimix, which is basically intrapenile vasodilators. Injectable. You inject it directly into the corpus cavernosum tissue. And I slept with this girl that I was dating, and at one point she's like, I'm not sure if this is too fucking much, or if I forget how she phrased it. She's like, I'm not sure if this is too much or if I fucking love it.
Try it. Let's try again tomorrow. Confirm it then.
Yes, confirm it, man. It was.
So how much did you gain on that then? Like, was it like
well,
life changing where it like
no,
really blew the fuck up or?
it did temporarily. Yeah, that's it.
Mm.
Yeah, just injecting 15 or so units of Trimix, which is 3 different drugs that are intrapenile vasodilators. I mean, within 2 minutes, like I already started to have an erection. Like it was just like girth. It was actually a little bizarre because the girth just fucking started happening as if someone, you know, a small micro person at the base of my fucking junk was like filtering blood through it, just like just blowing up. And so it looked strange. It was like the moment I injected, I'm like, within a minute, I'm looking down and I'm realizing like, holy fuck, it's like engorging. It's, I mean, unlike it would do naturally.
Normally.
Yeah. And so, you know, I didn't see any permanent gains from that, but certainly it was fun to use for sex. It was fucking fun.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Do you have a source for that?
Yeah. I've got a source.
We got to exchange some sources.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, I can notate it.
Yeah. That sounds interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm not. If you can do it with an insulin syringe or one of those BD microfines that you would attach to a growth hormone or insulin pen, then I'm not adverse to the idea. You know.
Nope. Yeah, that's how you do it. You know, you can get an auto injector or just use an insulin syringe yourself. The auto injector is easy because you don't have to. You know, there's just no apprehension about putting a needle in your junk kind of thing. You line the auto injector up. It's this thing that's about this big. You set a couple measurements on the auto injector and then you just press a button and it just goes right in. Yeah.
But if it's those small BD microphones, then you barely feel those. Yeah,
you don't feel it. You really don't feel it at all. It's not painful. You know, I've ran it probably a handful of times, 5 times or so, and never did any of the injections go wrong, or never was it painful. A little mark after that went away after 2-3 days or something, but it was fucking well worth it. Yeah, well worth it.
Yeah, if you can surprise somebody that way, then I don't mind surprising the wife. You know, if it's that much of a difference.
Oh yeah.
Seriously, less cumbersome than you know, loading up a bath mat with all kinds of, you know, precursors
DHT,
and hormones. Yeah, DHTs.
Yeah. Oh, totally. Totally.
Interesting.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, I mean, I guess to finish off, like on DHT, you know, whether I go back on Proviron or decide to run the Primo that I have, it's going to happen eventually for sure. But the one thing that, I mean, again, back to the people that say that DHT isn't necessary, to the people that are not having proper sexual function on TRT, DHT, as long as you've got adequate testosterone and your estrogen isn't buried or ultra high, it's so fucking powerful. Like I not only got as lean as I've been in a long time just using Proviron and cream, but I swear my voice was fucking deeper.
Could be, yeah.
Yeah, I swear that my voice was deeper on it, like just throughout. Like I felt so much more fucking massive.
Well, shit, all the teenagers are salivating now.
Bro,
I don't know if you get those, like I get those like emails of 15 years old, like how can I get a deeper voice using steroids?
Every now and then.
I don't reply.
Yeah, I bet you don't. You shouldn't, man.
Yeah,
it's funny how people, you know, there's a lot. Kids. I mean, that's maybe a problem in and of itself, right? I mean, I've got some 23, 24-year-olds that want to get on TRT, and that's too early unless they have some sexual dysfunction or whatever. But teenagers, man,
it's getting more and more and more. But luckily, our content is complicated, so that's not something that teenagers watch. Right. But yeah, once in a while you get them. So if you mention like I got a deeper voice or a bigger penis, or I got more masculine, I got late, and all the young kids are salivating about this idea. Well, wait until you're at least 25.
At least, bro. Yeah. And you've got a little knowledge on, you know, how to manage your health, fucking with this stuff. Yeah.
Exactly. Yeah. The shit is not cheap. So.
No, it is. Yeah. You need the money. I couldn't imagine what Chase's protocol is costing him. I mean,
less than you think.
Less, huh? Oh, that's a beautiful thing. What does he do?
Well, I mean, we're all part of the industry, right? So we get favors.
Yeah.
Like I don't pay as much for my growth hormone as other people. It's
that's beautiful.
I'm running 10 IUs now. I'm paying like $12 a day. Most people would run 4 IUs for that or 3 IUs.
Right. Interesting. Yeah.
So and my testosterone and Primo, it's all way cheaper than everybody else. So
yeah,
you know,
That's a beautiful
That's
thing.
just, and the same for Chase. Chase is getting favors also, so his cycle is probably the same price as mine.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting. Yeah. I mean, especially if, like we talked about in the beginning, it's like you've got to make a decision that if these things like Primo or whatever ran with TRT are just necessary, that the medical establishment's not going to help you get what you may need. You got to take it upon yourself. And yeah, maybe that's just, you got to find a way to get what you need. Yeah, that's the point that
I think so. Yeah. I think you got to take life into your own hands. Like in America, there's some very good TRT clinics that are willing to help you, right? But even those, the services and the blood work analysis, that's not cheap. So if you feel that you can do it yourself by watching our YouTube channels, you can source everything very, very cheaply online and just do it yourself. You just need to put in the time. So if you have the time and not the finances, go for it.
Yeah.
But if you have the finances and you don't have the time, then get guidance.
Yeah, definitely. Right.
You know, it's that simple. And if you don't have the finances and you don't have the knowledge, well, then, and don't have the time, then work on self-development to get the money, get the knowledge, and then we'll see you in a couple of years.
Yeah. Yeah. Get you some nootropics and, get on.
Get some over-the-counter nootropics and then, put that to work, you make that money, do trading or whatever.
Yeah.
and then we'll see you in a couple of years when you're ready for TRT.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, for sure.
All right, man. So people can find you, vigorsteve.com, obviously on your YouTube channel. Do you have other stuff like besides this? You've got Instagram.
I had a TikTok, but I got banned.
Yeah, I recently just saw that. So you just canceled.
I tried to log in. It was like, where's my TikTok? Well, I only had 6,000 followers, so it's nothing of value was lost. But Instagram, Vigorous Steve, YouTube, Vigorous Steve, vigorsteve.com. And if you type in Vigorous Steve on YouTube, you probably get a boatload of podcasts that I was on, including yours.
Yeah, right.
Many a time. So yeah, that's the way to go. I'll be at the Mr. Olympia.
Oh yeah.
I have a podcast. Let's see, October 10. Or 7, 8, 9 or something like that. I'll be there, and yeah, if people want to meet me in real life, then you just come hang out at the Mr. Olympia. I'll be there.
Hey, that's fucking awesome. I'm sure you have a good time. Meet a lot of people that you've probably met already, but also people that in this space that we do podcasts.
You should come, man. It's fun. You should come.
So where is it? It's in
Las Vegas.
Okay, it's in Vegas. Wow.
Yeah. It's like Sin City, so it's like the perfect place to have fun for the weekend and just misbehave and meet all these people that are into bodybuilding and you'll meet all the cool people, man. Ryan will be there. Ryan Root. Right, I'll be there. Chase Irons will be there. Chase, me, Paul Burnett, and the Kurt Havens. We got our own booth.
Yeah, cool. Yeah,
so we'll have like a couple couches and chairs. Just come hang out if you want to come.
Yeah,
just come.
You know what, man? I like Vegas. I fucking love it there, bro. I might like Vegas a little too much, but
you can spend some of your Bitcoin gains there. It'll be in October, so the first part of the rally, just take out like 0.01 Bitcoin, and then you have a blast.
Hell yeah. Yeah, because you need it because goddamn. I mean, the last pool party I went to in Las Vegas, the drinks were $40 for a fucking one drink. It was insane, bro.
Vegas and Dubai, man. You got to be loaded, otherwise you can't.
You can't do it.
The bills are you need a credit card that you can max because it hurts, but you have a lot of fun also. So it's kind of worth it.
You can't trade that. Yeah.
For sure, man. I'll send you the details. Let's exchange some sources after we're done.
Yeah, it sounds great.
I'm looking forward to it. And thanks so much for having me on, man. It was a lot of fun to talk to you again. Yeah, always a pleasure. Yeah, and we'll do this again soon.
Yeah, soon enough, man. Yeah, thank you,
for sure.
All right,
Take care.
man. See you, bro.
Ciao.